Hi everybody. Welcome to another reading from My Friend Fear by Mira Lee Patel. Finding Magic in the Unknown. Last time where we left it was about stars and things. This is still talking about magic. I'm on pages 18 and 19 today. I continue to work on sorting out my gems. It's going to take a while. My color gems from all the specials I like to use. I can't wait to show you what I'm going to do with them all after I sort them, but here we go. This is Mira. When I'm a little older, the questions change slightly. By now I've discovered myself. Why do I look the way I do, and why isn't the way everyone else does? Why doesn't Caitlin want to play with me? How come I'm the only one in school who speaks 2 languages? The answers are too complicated for my 4-year-old brain. But my native tongue moves inside my mouth and words tumble out before I've had a chance to consider them. They make the right sounds anyway. I marvel at my own ability to speak and think and listen. I move like water. My hand rises before my mind has even fully given the command, before the answer is even in my mouth, because I trust that my thoughts will finish forming before I'm called on. Everything feels so connected. My brain is an athlete, lightning fast and powerful, capable of anything. I can do anything. How I wish I would have felt like that as a child. As we talk about fear and anxiety, what was your childhood like? If you'd like to share, I would love to hear. What was your childhood like? Mine was fantastic up till school age. It was wonderful. When I got to school age, though, things changed. But that was talking about their younger years. So, these are things I like to think about now. As an adult, I used to love to run in the grass. I used to love to... We have like 15 acres here at home. The family does. And we had plenty of places to run around. Now, at 4 years old, I still wasn't, let loose upon the world on my own. I don't think I was anyway. I don't remember being so. And I didn't really have too many fears. I think in one of my other videos, I explained how I did not like the geese that my grandfather raised. And they were mean and nasty things. They would honk and upset me and everything. Anyway, I had guinea pigs and rabbits too, which I just absolutely adored. And no, we didn't sell them or use them as a food supply. They were our pets as long as they lasted. And anyway, geese were a whole different thing. Geese we ate on Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter, along with ham and other meats. But so I would see them butchered. I would see them plucked. So things I didn't like the most, the things that chased me around the yard, it felt good to see them getting sacrificed for the holiday. One summer, I was standing out in the yard, and I had a plastic pail or some kind of pail in my hand, a little bucket, from being out there playing. And these were free-range geese. They were in a little pen, but they never stayed there. And Mom looked at me. All of a sudden she said, "Turn around, turn around." And me, being a girl of lots of questions, I said, "Why? Why, Mom?" She said, "Just turn around." Well, I hadn't yet learned my lesson that you should just, when you're a kid, just do as you're told, because there's a reason. There's a reason for it. So I stood there, and I didn't turn around. And I was bit in the behind by the goose. Now, Mom was thinking if I turned around, I would swing the bucket, and it would smack the goose in the head and, chase it away without biting me. But such was not the case, because I didn't listen. Didn't listen. So, excuse me, I have a hard time with this. Yeah. So I continued to hate the geese throughout my life. So that's one thing from childhood. We also have depression that runs in our family, down my dad's line. And my dad had it too. So, unfortunately, I was the one who suffered with it from my family. In my generation, I should say. And, so from a young age, I was on medication. A tiny little red pill that I had to take when I was a child. Not quite at 4, like, Mira said she had fears from 4. But, I had plenty enough fears to deal with. And then there was a time when, and this is back in the 60s, when my family physician used to tell my mom that a little port wine now and again before bed wouldn't hurt. And at the time, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Now I'm like, yeah. But I'm also on different medications. And a lot of us choose hobbies that calm our nerves. Choose hobbies that take our minds away from the everyday. Oh, this is a different shape. I saw that. Take our minds away from what worries us, so we can get lost in it and just to have some relief from our anxieties. So that's why I do diamond painting. A lot of people do diamond painting, and they've said they do it because it relieves their stress. I think it's because we get lost in what we're doing and figuring out the right little gem to put on the right little block. That's why we do cross stitch. It's why we do any number of hobbies. That's why I do it. These are smaller than the others, aren't they? They look a bit smaller. I guess not. Yeah. These have slight differences in color. I really don't think that they're going to be that different that somebody's going to see it and think, oh, you got 2 different colors in the same place. I don't think that's the case. Excuse me. Yeah. But I try the best I can to sort them out, so I won't have to do that while I'm working on them. It's definitely that. Or is it the later one? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear. I change my mind. See, I change my mind all the time. Anyway, other childhood fears. I hate spiders. I absolutely hate spiders. And when I was little, my brother and I had bunk beds. And I had the top bunk. He had the bottom bunk. Even though I was the oldest. Sometimes we changed. But I had a night terror one time where I dreamt about this giant spider, and I knew I was in bed, so my mind thought of this spider coming down right above my face, and it was almost as big as me. I know it's awful, isn't it, to think about? This is special, so I don't know whether I should put it with this or not. Probably not. Anywho. Oh, maybe I'll just put a little label on it that says tear. Do that. And do it smaller. Do a half a one. Half a label. That works. Tear. Otherwise I'll forget it. Ta-da! Okay. These go together. Maybe should I do them next? Yeah, I'll do these next. So I woke up that night, you know, the way you do from nightmares, screaming and all kinds of things, and my mom comes running, and I tell her what I was dreaming about, and since then I hate spiders. Big ones, little ones. The other ones that didn't bother me too much were daddy longlegs, because, I don't know, they just didn't look like other spiders. They just weren't as threatening as the spiders I knew. So that's how I got afraid of spiders. Another thing, we were visiting a relative's house, and I became fascinated with this little stuffed caiman. It's like a mini, tiny little alligator. Must have been a baby. And again, this is the 60s, so they did stuff like this and sold these things at tourist shops and that. I'm sure that this person got it on their vacations somewhere. Likely Florida at that time. Anyway, yeah. That one kind of goes with this. That one kind of goes with this. Maybe these are all the same, I don't know. Thought they were diff, but they're not. Yeah, so I was fascinated by this thing, and as we were talking, a relative said, she really seemed, you know, I don't really need it. Does she want it? I mean, she can have it. And I took it, and I played with it a little bit, but that night, I put it under my bed. What is it with beds and monsters and all kinds of things? I don't get that. It was different. Definitely a different one. One's more like a rhinestone, one's more like a plastic, and I mixed them up. Like, well, too late now. Can't do nothing about it. 016 DMC. Okay, well, alright. So, And from that night on, I was so afraid of an alligator under my bed. It's like, I even knew what it was, and I held up my hand and I played with it. But I always was afraid of this alligator under my bed. So, there's that. Shoot. Now, like I said, if I can't tell the difference, who else is going to tell the difference? Oh, there is a big difference in there. But I'm not crossing my eyes to sort them out. That's just too nuts. Let's put it in here. Yeah, so. And eventually, as I got older and braver, I looked under my bed and pulled it out, and here it was. This stuff came in for a project. I brought it out and took a picture of it. I don't know what happened to it now, and I really don't. I'm not looking for it. So those are some of my childhood fears before kindergarten. It's interesting how they shape, how your fears when you're little shape who you are as an adult. It's fascinating. So, anyway, what are your childhood fears? What is something you're afraid of? Did something happen that you remember that caused you to be afraid? Oh, there's another fear I had. Claustrophobia. And I still kind of am to this day, up to a certain degree. My brother and I were playing hide and seek. This is kind of like school age, though, not before school. My brother and I were playing hide and seek, and we had this cabinet that had one shelf in it, and it had the sliding doors on top of it. It just wooden cabinet. And so my brother was it, and I was hiding. I decided it would be really cool, really fun, to hide in this cabinet. He'd never find me there. So, I don't know if he even tried to look. Yeah, my brother would play, he called them tricks. Would play tricks on me all the time, and on his friends, too. I wasn't the only one. But, yeah, so I don't know if he even was coming to look for me or not, but I stayed in this cabinet for a long time on the bottom shelf, and I closed the door, and I wasn't able to open it back up. I just remember it taking a long, long time before, I forget, I think it was my mom or my dad found me in the cabinet. And I was crying and upset that I couldn't get out of it because there was no handle on the inside to slide the door open again. Yeah, so I was claustrophobic. I still am to a certain degree. I've gotten over a lot of my fears. I've forced myself to do things that I'm afraid of. You know that today they call it exposure therapy. I didn't know it then, but at the moment, I was doing my own form of exposure therapy. That's where you are reintroduced to something a little bit at a time and talk to yourself, rationalize, that what you're thinking in your mind, the fear isn't real. Fear is put in our path for a reason. It's given to us for a reason. It's how our ancestors survived. If they were afraid of something, they ran away from it instead of towards it. Most of us do. And that way they stay safe. But sometimes fear can get the best of you. Like a fear of elevators. Okay, so it's claustrophobic. I had a fear of elevators. And in college, my room was on the 3rd floor. So for the 2.5 years I was at that college, moving in a rug, moving in all the things that I was a sewing major, so I had a sewing machine and fabric and stuff. I had a lot of stuff to take up and down the elevator. And I was not about to walk it up a few steps, even though I was svelte then. Much stronger, and my college was built on the side of a hill, so it felt like no matter what class you had to go to, you were going back uphill to find it. So I had a lot of exercise walking through the hills. Still, I wasn't about to drag all my stuff up 3 flights of steps to the 4th floor. Anyway, so I had to get over being frightened of elevators. That was one. Another one was, no, I still haven't dealt with my fear of spiders, and I used to tell God, look, if I face this fear, if I face other fears, I'll get rid of them, but I don't think I'm going to do exposure therapy with spiders. No, thank you. I can live with that one, and it doesn't affect my life adversely, except that somebody else has to go dig the spider out of the bathtub, and not going to be me. So that's that. The other one I think I was afraid of, crowds. I'm a short gal. I'm 5'2". I've always been short for my age. And because of that, you know, when you're in a crowd, you look up and all you see is bottoms. And I was really afraid I was going to lose my mom, you know, that they're going to walk away and I won't know where they are because I'll be lost in the crowd and yada yada. So we were in Philadelphia. We used to go after, by train, down to Philly. After the Christmas season is over, the week between Christmas and New Year, when they still had all the decorations up, we could still hear the Wanamaker organ. We could still go see the decorated windows. So I used to love doing that. And at that time, to take the train, it wasn't laid out like it is now, of course. And everybody was taller than me. I was so afraid that somebody would bump me and I'd drop my mom's hand and I'd be lost. I did not want to be lost. I needed my security, my mommy's security blanket. So I had a fear of being lost. I had a fear of crowds. Let's see. How would your fears manifest themselves? What do you feel like when the fear is coming on? How do you know that you're going to be afraid? Are you given warning signs at all? Some are. Some are. My heart used to would race. I don't know why I'm using it in the past tense, but my heart would race, my eyes would get blurry, like feeling up on the verge of tears the whole time. I'd want to grab somebody's hand and hold on. I just, needed to get air. I needed to get air. I felt like I was suffocating. So that's how I felt. There was a time in college, in home ec, when I volunteered to run the end of the year fashion show. When all the guys and gals that were in the home ec department at the end of the year would wear their projects. And really, we just did it for other home eckies. And for me, it was a really big deal. Because I wanted to manage fashion shows and be a merchandiser, and that dream never panned out, but that's what I wanted to do when I grew up. So, anyway, there was a night I remember, and my husband, then boyfriend, engaged, was over that night. No, he was going to come up the next night. That's right. All right, so all day, the day before, I knew how I wanted people to walk and in what order. They gave me a description of their outfit, and I would use that. I was the MC, but I was also in it. And so here we go. Move these around. The night before, I had a full-blown panic attack, and at that time, I kind of knew what they were because my dad had panic attacks. He had agoraphobia, so it was a time after his, what they would call a nervous breakdown. He had agoraphobia for quite a number of years. And it would feel like the noise from the voices in my head were just so much that I panicked. I felt like I was going to throw up. I felt like I was going to pass out. I felt like, oh my gosh, just like I couldn't breathe. My heart was racing. I was sweaty. So that was my panic attack, and the only way I could get myself to feel better about it, to nullify that, was to talk to myself. Like, right here, right now, I'm safe. I am warm. I have a roof over my head. I have a full belly. Concentrate in the present moment. Right now, I'm not leading the show. Right now, I don't know whether to be a fab or flop. You know, right there in that moment, I was calm. I'm not calm. I could be calm. I was in bed. I had everything ready, as much as I could that day, rehearsals and everything. And not only the present moment that I was, fine, in all of my lifetime, in the whole span of my lifetime, and what I hope to accomplish in my life, am I going to really remember the details of this fashion show? Well, because of the panic attack, I did. But right there in that moment, how many people are going to be at that fashion show? Only other people whose projects were on display. They probably were as nervous as I was about walking in the fashion show. So, really, are future employers going to know? No. Does my whole future rely on whether or not this fashion show goes perfectly? Okay, it's not going to go perfectly. Prepare yourself for that. Can I think of the whole universe, the whole expanse of time, our little speck of existence within the huge universe? Is it going to change the course of the entire universe if things don't go well? No, of course not. So, when I thought of myself as small and insignificant, everything got into perspective, and I didn't need to worry so much as I did. Maybe that will help you. Maybe that will work for you. Let's see. It worked for me that night. My breathing came to normal. And I said, look, why don't you read your fiction book? Get out of your logical mind, or illogical as the moment would be, and think about something different. Reading fiction, to me, always made pictures in my mind. I would get to the point when I'm reading that I wouldn't realize I'm reading anymore, and the pictures would run like a movie in my head. Loved it. Loved that reaction. So I turned on a little light and I read a fiction book I always had at the ready. So I fell asleep reading that night. I didn't have a glass of port. I did not have a glass of wine. I was not on any medications at the time. So, no anti-anxiety medications. You know, so I had to do it on my own, and that's how I did it. So later on, in later years, when I would have panic attacks, I would think of that, and I would do much the same. I would, the other thing my dad taught me to do was, I later come to hear that it's a Buddhist thing, or it came from a Buddhist way to meditate. I could be wrong. That could absolutely be wrong. If you know the difference, if you know if it is or not, feel free to correct me in the comments. Anyway, it was start at your toes. To keep yourself in the present moment, to keep yourself checking in with your body. The idea is that you squeeze the muscles in your toes really, really tight, as hard as you can. Hold it for a couple seconds, then relax it. Do that a couple times. Then to move up a muscle group, like my ankles, my arches or my ankles or whatever, and squeeze that real tight. Hold it and let it rest, and do that a couple times. Then move up to your calves and your knees and your thighs and your bottom, and you just keep moving up your body until you get to your breath and your head and that kind of thing. And I'd always fall asleep before I got partway through. Before I got all the way through. I think there was 1 or 2 times, though, where that wasn't the case. So, yeah. That was another way I'd relax. And, later I come to in a gym class, they taught us biofeedback, but you'd have to have the equipment, and I didn't have the equipment, where you consciously concentrate on your breathing. In, hold, out, hold. And you would have this little thing clipped to your finger, and it would monitor your heart rate or something. It would monitor something. And you would concentrate to get the rate down. You would, so that you could tell when you were doing it right, because the beeping would like disappear or get slower. I was able to get it to the point where I could make it disappear. I could make it shut off. And we did that a couple times. And I was always wishing I'd have a little biofeedback machine so that when I got anxious or nervous, I could do that. But you remember how you were able to calm yourself down. So that helped a great deal, getting me through community college and regular college and relationships as a young lady. So that was that. So those are some of the ways that when I get anxious, that I use to get my calm back. Prayer, obviously, for me, obvious to me, is it says, God says to leave your burdens with God, and God will make your load lighter. Never figured out how God would do that, but it does help. Being able to talk about what you're afraid of, being able to articulate that to someone else, and to have their assistance, to be able to call on God, on something bigger than yourself, to know that you aren't in control. It's okay that you're not in control. The world does not revolve around you, nor does the world really care. So what you're worried about is very insignificant in the big scheme of things. I think God has bigger things to worry about than, whether I'm wearing the right clothes, that I wouldn't get, teased today at school, or, whether a fashion show goes right or wrong. God has bigger fish to fry than what the weather will be like for our school trip, that kind of thing. I'm not saying that God doesn't care about the minutiae of our daily lives. I believe God does. So, but in those moments, it's helpful. If you want to know more about prayer and how prayer eases anxiety and gets you into connection with someone that's bigger than you. I have another channel that I run with a friend of mine called Drawing Nearer. And you know what? How do I do this? I still have some beads left in here. I can put these tiny teardrops in that one too. Let's see. Let's see. I think some of these can go in there. They're definitely gold. What do you think? Alright, what's my objective here? Why am I... I like the specials in there. These are teeny. There's not much of them. These are double pointed. They are too, but there's a bunch of them. I don't know. Those three go together. Oh. There's more specials in here that I don't really want to move them. What about these golds? Golden yellows. Maybe I could do it with them. Or the yellows from here into here. I was thinking maybe the weird shaped oranges could go in here, and I use another one for my orange here. I can do that. These are double pointed, and they need to be in the bigger one in here. They're little ones. Hey, little ones. Well, they're double pointed, but they're long. Taking up a lot of room in here. So, how do I do this? What do I do with this? What do you think? Alright, I can do that. What I thought of is these, I don't know if you can see the difference in them. These are real long and skinny, where these are not. They're fatter. So I take some out. I'll just take one or two out. Just one. They're wider. and shorter. So I don't want to put them really in the same one, but I'm going to try. I'm going to, here. I'm going to put these little guys in a separate little baggie and stuff the baggie in here. That's what I'm going to do. So they can be the same but different. Yeah. I don't know if I have a bag that's smaller than this one. This is the smallest one. It'll be interesting to see how they go together. Ha ha ha. Alright. There. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So we are told. Alright. There's a reason I don't have them in there. I'll put them in here anyway. This is good. So then I've got this finished. The silvers are done. Golds are done. Pearls are done. Mostly. They have a whole row left over. But, alright, these are going to be yellows. You know, I'd love to start a conversation with you about fear and anxiety. Ugh, I had a lot of trouble with peers when I was little. With being afraid of being on the schoolyard. Afraid of... How did you drop in here? Better not do that because I don't know. Let's try it this way. I may need 3, I'm not sure. Alrighty. Yeah, sorry I clear my throat a lot. I have chronic sinus problems, along with depression, anxiety, fibromyalgia. You know, the norm. I thank you all for being so patient with me. I thank you for sticking with me through all this. Should I read a little bit more of Patel's book as we go on? I could do that. All right. Let's see. As soon as I'm done with these, putting these in together, I can sort out the orange while we're talking. I want to get this done before I have a friend coming from out of town. A different state. She's coming to stay here for a night. On her way to and from relative's house. So, that's cool. That's why I want to get all this done. Put all this away here. Yep. So the big bag filled up 3 of these Litlins. Alright then. Yeah. I feel like the little pill bottles, you know? Alright. So the lid for this one is here. I put that and that here. And let's read a little bit more of the book, and then I can sort the oranges. Because I can probably put like the special ones in with the yellows. Peach, peach yellow. Ooh. Alright, so okay. I've read this one. So we're on page 20 and 21. As an adult, I've found it fairly difficult to hold on to the magic. Not long after I was marveling at my own ability to exist, to simply float and feel and be a speck in an ever-expanding universe, did I stumble into another plane, where one contentment turned to anxiety, and innate ability turned into doubt. I spent the greater amount of my life living in fear. My fear is multitudinous. It begins as one thing and ends up as another, splitting itself into 1,000,000 pieces that scatter off into every direction. It exists both inside and outside of myself and follows me around the way I wished my older sister always would. She never did. There are many fears inside me, but mostly there is the fear of being different. Oh, how I know that one. Man, didn't we all feel that way in school? A fear so large and magnanimous that it has never left my side. It comes from knowing that my body is different than anyone else's. It's different from yours. My color is different. It's golden, sometimes toasty in winter, and a burnt dark and a deep burnt caramel when I'm in the sun for too long. My ethnicity makes me different, as does my culture, my language. As I've gotten older, my native tongue has quieted so much so that I now fumble over the words. Instead, I speak English because it lets me blend into my surroundings. It doesn't give other people the reason to look at me quizzically. In fact, speaking English allows me to slip by unnoticed. If you don't look too closely, I'm a blur, inseparable from the elements to the right or left or right of me. For a lot of my life, I've tried to remain out of focus. The fear of being different forces me to be like everyone else. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, what a quote. Yeah, so, well, fear of being different. I used to pretend that I was invisible. I did. I pretended that I was invisible. And I got really good at it. Really good at being invisible. So much so that I wondered if my teachers said, "Who's that? Is she really in my class?" Ooh, there are some auroras in here. Okay, it's got a different one in it, but I can live with that. Is there more of a peach? Pink. Not pink, is it? Pinks are in the reds. This is like that. Okay. I used to, well, as we grew up, we weren't rich or anything. Not by a long shot. And my parents would do their best. We were blessed in so many other ways that, got away with it. Ooh, they're cool. They're a different shape as well. These are pink. I'll put them with the reds. They might be peachy, I don't know. Bavishtu. You are orange. I mean, not orange, but gold. I might come across some of them in there too. It's kind of red. Gee whiz. They are sort of red. Sort of reds up here. Same color, but different shape. Okay, yeah. Kind of have those in there too. Yeah, where was I? Train of thought derailed. Sorry about that. These are lighter than those. They're darker than that. Jeez. Okay. These are a different shade yet. Wowee. It's gonna be hard. Yeah, no, we would go to the discount clothing stores and we were only allowed to get so many outfits, and my mom worked hard as a hairdresser, and she owned her own shop because my grandparents helped her have that as a reality, because they believed in what my mom was doing to be home with we built a shop on the house so that Mom could be with us, grow up. She'd be there right after school, even if she was working and that kind of thing. But she didn't work every single day. She worked a number of days a week, but not every single day. This is really pink. So anyway, there was a limited amount of funds. My dad was a teacher. He worked every day, taught. He taught Votech school. I think that's where I got my love of teaching. And you're there. Teeny teenies. Teeny tinies. I think they're teenies. Where was I? I don't know. It's hard to concentrate. Jeez. I'm letting you guys down here, I think. Yeah, so, and my dad was in the Navy, and we, he would do his weekend drills, and he was a weekend warrior, he called himself, in the Navy. And the money that he'd save from that would be our trips over the summer, because he had his summers off as a teacher. So we would travel the whole month of July, my brother's birth month, and just take off to some place with our camper pulled behind. Anyway, so Mom was very frugal with our money, and we weren't allowed to have too many clothes. And I think that's why I went into clothing and textiles in college, because I would sew. It's still different. I would sew my own clothes if I wanted something different. I was in 4-H and I'd win awards and things like that for my sewing. I have an aunt who used to design wedding gowns for Alfred Angelo, and she would help me out with different sewing things if my mom couldn't answer it, but she knew how to sew very well too. She still does. So, and my Nana, my grandmother, one would hand stitch and the other one would sew on the sewing machine. She used to sew for a underwear factory, she told me, because it was local. And so I came by knowing how to sew from a number of different relatives, but I was always afraid that what I would sew would not be stylish or fashionable. It certainly wasn't it couldn't compete with Jordache jeans. And I would get, and the clothes I would pick out would not be really the stylish ones because, well, I don't know why, because I certainly had the style magazines and stuff to look through. So, and you know, the patterns were pretty up to date then. They were pretty pretty fashionable at that time. Although maybe a year or two out of style. We didn't shop at the mall. We shop at discount, like Sears surplus stores and that kind of thing. And I was always afraid of looking weird. And there was occasions when I did. And of course, kids are really mean to each other. So I was teased and picked on a lot. Which wasn't fun. Obviously. So that was one of, I thought if I could be invisible to everybody but the teacher, that I wouldn't get picked on because nobody would see me. So when everybody asked me, you know, we were asked occasionally, what superpower would you like to be? It always was invisible. And I got pretty good at it, too. Blending in with the background and kind of hanging back and letting everybody else do their thing. I really got pretty good at that. So yeah, oh, these are really dark. I don't know if that's dark orange. What do you think? These are light. It's easy. More red. Oh, again, that's the red. Ish. Ish, ish, ish. Ooh, dark. They're two different darks. Two different browns, I think. So that's probably why I went into clothing and textile science at the time. Fear of being different. Well, Mira, was culturally different and had a different skin tone. And you can't hide from those things very easily. And in the 60s, the other kids would probably have been very cruel to her. I used to make friends with the kids that nobody else would make friends with. They didn't judge me like that. I thrived. Outcasts with the outcasts. I always kind of thought that I was the pretty one. I wanted to be the pretty one of the outcasts. So in a way, I wanted to stand out. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be... yeah. It's kind of a brown, too, but a different brown-ish. This is the red-ish. Pinky reddish brown. I don't know. Dark. Bright. Almost done with this group. Sorting. Did you have trouble in your childhood? We, a school district, I went to Girl Scouts in a different school district, so I didn't know any of the kids in Scouts and when we first started. And I went to 4-H in a different school district because that's where it was at. And so I didn't have any friends in there. I learned to be really pretty good on my own. But I always had this fear of being different. But yet I wanted to stand out at the same time. You don't get to want to be an actress or a singer. And not want to stand out in some ways. I did act. And I found a way I could sing without people saying, oh no. You know. Anyway, there's a lot of fears that we grow up with. Being afraid of being seen doesn't do you any justice in the long run. Because now I have to get to a place where but that doesn't matter. I have to, here you go there. As a pastor, as a human being, you want to stand out. You want to be unique, but you don't want to be too unique. That kind of thing. So, I can't open my voice to speak. While I'm afraid of what people think of me when I'm trying to be invisible. That just is not gonna work. Not gonna do it. So over the years, what served me at the time I was afraid of things does not serve me at the time that I need career-wise to be out in the world. And it may or may not feel that way for you too. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this series, because I know I'm not the only one with fear and anxiety. Well, I'm going to quit talking now. I'm going to work more on my goodies here and maybe listen to an Audible book and get something to drink for my throat. Okay. Come back again on Tuesdays and Thursdays for Tea and Talk Tuesdays while I'm working on something, and Fearless Fridays when we definitely dig into the fear book some more. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Keep an eye on the contests. When we get to 100 subscribers will be the first contest, and I will announce the prizes as we get closer to that many subscribers that you can join in. I hope you've made it to the end. If you have made it this far, let me know. Print the word invisible in the comments, then I know you've made it and that you're with me on this journey and that I'm not alone. Okay. God bless, and I will see you soon. Bye.